Friends, hello everyone. My name is Panasyuk and I am still traveling through tropical islands in search of new adventures. And this is my second day of survival on a completely uninhabited island, which I previously named Shark Island. Since early morning, there was a light drizzle, so I decided to seize the moment and collect some fresh water. For this, I used a plastic bottle that I attached to the rope from my tent. Rainwater that falls on the tent will run down into the bottle. This way, during the rain, I can replenish my fresh water supplies. I have neither the time nor the desire to just sit under the tent and wait for the rain to end. And since I will get wet anyway, I better take my spearfishing gear, my wooden crossbow, and dive underwater. I'll try to catch some food. I started my underwater hunt near the mangrove bushes. I wanted to see if any fish were hiding in the roots. Right away, I noticed a small school of tiny fish. And behind it, I saw a school of larger fish. This is the so-called mullet. It looks very similar to our mullet. I took aim and fired. But the fish was faster. At the bottom, I saw a sea snake. I looked at it closely, and as I understood, it was a black-banded sea crate, one of the most venomous snakes in the world. I won't disturb it and will swim further. Near a small coral reef, I saw a school of fish. I dived and tried to be as still as possible, to wait for the fish to swim out of the coral reef, to aim and catch the prey. I was swimming with the crossbow near the rock. An enormous GT swam out in front of me. I immediately reached for the camera to start recording. But instead of starting the recording, I stopped the camera. It was very frustrating, and this actually happens very often. During filming, you get confused about what mode you are currently in. Whether the camera is already on, or it is still in standby mode. So it turned out that when the fish swam out, I stopped the camera. When I shot, I turned the camera back on. Unfortunately, it was all the other way around. The same thing happened with the fish caught on the spinning rod, but I found that moment, and the moment of catching the fish, I will definitely show you today. But not losing hope, I continued my underwater hunt. I swam further with some anxiety. I had a feeling as if someone was watching me. Periodically during the underwater hunt, I looked back, and suddenly I feel someone tugging on my rope. Frightened, I looked back sharply. But my buoy had just caught on a rock. I unhooked it and swam further. And suddenly I see it, and I realize my intuition did not fail me. An enormous shark swam right out in front of me. It looked at me and at some point started approaching me. It swam nearby and carefully examined me. Most likely when I shot at the GT, it heard the commotion of the fish and immediately swam to this sound. That's why when I catch fish during underwater hunting, I attach my catch to a safety buoy and keep it at a distance from myself so as not to provoke a shark attack. Look, a turtle. Alright, despite my spearfishing gear, I am already cold. I will get out to the shore. Friends, I will share my emotions right away. While I am still thrilled, underwater, I saw a turtle. I hope it is clearly visible on the footage. I also saw a small shark. Then I swam out of this bay. And at the corner, right there, at the corner. And you know, I had the feeling that I needed to swim under the rock. Because in such places, GT often swim. And what do you think? I swim there and a bluefin swims out. I immediately got a fountain of emotions. I got nervous, aimed. I see, and it doesn't swim away. Turns around towards me. I had a flashback from Coconut Bay in front of my eyes. When a GT swam out in front of me, I pressed the shot and accidentally pressed the line with my hand. And the harpoon didn't reach the fish. It was very frustrating. I thought, well, this is the moment. I must not miss it. The fish turns, starts swimming towards me. I carefully reach for the camera with my finger, press the record button, and realize that at that moment I am turning off the camera. So instead of starting the recording and making a shot, I press the button, make a shot, and at that moment, the camera turns off, not on. Because I was filming at that moment, I was already filming. Words cannot express how frustrating it is. This is my personal mistake. I just forgot that I was already filming on the camera. And at the moment when I wanted to film for you, it turned out that I stopped the camera instead. So what happened off camera? I hit the fish accelerates rapidly, pulls my spear gun and breaks free. I got distracted by the camera, by the fact that I was turning it off. And at that moment, I fire, hitting the side of the GT. During the struggle, it breaks free. I hope the fish survives and everything will be fine. Because GT is a fighter, and even serious injuries are not a problem for it. Look. A flock of cockatoos is flying with such white crests. Parrots, they are probably laughing at me for losing such a big fish. In general, it was very upsetting because I thought the start of survival and such a trophy, but not everything at once, most likely. Can I tell you? In general, I realized that not everything at once, the fish got away, and I forgot to mention another moment. First, a small one. First, I shoot a fish. I see a small shark that came for the commotion. Then I try to catch a big GT. It was a bluefin. It got away, broke free. And after that, a big shark swims out near me. And it was a reef, but a white-tip shark. It has such a white spot on the top of its fin. I caught a black tip here. It had a black fin. And this one is a white tip. Its muzzle, it seemed to me, was a bit sharper. The shark was big, no less than the one I caught. And it was clearly interested in me. Who I am, why I am in its territory. It swam up to me. I clicked. I don't know. And I didn't hear the sound of the recording. And the shark just swam like this near me. Swam. I held the spear gun, kind of like no to her. Or from here. In general, it swam away. In general, I saw something underwater. It's not for nothing that this is Shark Island. At least some sharks are present. Maybe I can catch one more. I was supposed to return to Shark Island about a year ago. I bought tickets, and 2 days before the flight, the war in Ukraine started. So all the plans went down the drain. Life changed. I think for many as well. Right to the point. I will say that every month, several times, from my personal income, I send donations to support people affected in Ukraine during the war. I gathered my thoughts, packed my things, and decided to return to Shark Island. I wrote to the locals in the region, asked about the weather there. They told me rains, heavy rains, and in general, I thought nothing terrible. We are going anyway. Yesterday I spent the night. I saw that the rains do not stop, but still, I decided not to retreat. I got on the ship, and after 3 hours, I am here. Friends, literally, in 2 hours of rain, I managed to collect almost a liter of water, probably, fresh and quite clean. There is some kind of bark. But for this, I have a special filter. In survival conditions, a very useful thing. It seems that this model is the only one that, in my opinion, passed special super smart studies in some super smart university. And it can be used to drink water directly from the river, almost from a puddle. It kills 99.9% of bacteria. But anyway, I wouldn't rely heavily on this filter. I don't know why, but I still have some distrust. And I'd rather boil this water. Then I'll be 100% sure that this fresh rainwater can be drunk. The filter just inserts into the bottle and you drink like through a straw. At first it doesn't drink, you need to pump it and then the water goes. There are pros and cons. During the rain, it's very difficult to make a fire, but it's easy to replenish the source of fresh water. And also, under the weight of the water, this corner of the tent gets more taut and the water runs off, right here along the string into my bottle. And most importantly, I have dry firewood for the night. This is how my camp looks like. Or rather, part of it. I would say, this is what this filter looks like. From this side, it sucks in. And on this side, the water collects. It passes through the filter and can be drunk. I will not show the brand. This is not an advertisement. And I don't want to take responsibility. What if it's not as reliable as it claims? I gathered fresh water and noticed that the tide had already started to go out. I took my spinning rod and went to the fishing spot. This time I decided to fish in a slightly different place. I climbed onto the rocks and looked for a spot on the shallows where I could get as close as possible to the edge in the deep water, so that I could start my fishing from that spot. I went down and began fishing in the new place. I cast after cast. I fished the entire perimeter and periodically looked at the sky because a storm was approaching. As I already mentioned, episode 1 of Shark Island 2 was a remake of the first episode of Shark Island 1. That is, I tried to make the episode as similar as possible, just like I did back then. At the end of the video, I did a small test for my audience. I showed the caught fish, but didn't show the moment it was caught, and thereby gave the audience the opportunity to write their versions, what really happened there. But just like last time, I will show the moment the fish was caught. A strong wind is rising. The water immediately turned black. The sky was covered with clouds. I'm sure another storm is coming. There will be heavy rain. This is immediately felt by the cold, strong wind, and it's blowing from that direction. And usually the rains come from that island. Look over that island. It's just a disaster. It's closed off. There's probably heavy rain there too. In general, I got very distracted by the gas clouds and completely forgot that I hadn't turned off the camera, and suddenly I got a bite. Immediately after that, I made a big mistake. I reached for the camera and instead of starting to record, I turned it off. I was sure the camera was recording. It was a long and emotional fight, and when I finally pulled the fish ashore, I pressed the button on the camera again to stop the video. I took the camera off my head and noticed something very strange. My camera was still recording. And then I noticed that the camera showed 7 seconds of recording. And at that moment, you could see the disappointment on my face. Phew, I'm already tired of complaining. I don't know. It was just such a fight. I was filming, I was sharing emotions, I was shouting because it wasn't clear what kind of fish it was. It just wouldn't stop. It went on and on and on. I pressed record. I heard the camera beep. The recording started. But when I sat on the fish, I press stop and I hear it start recording again. I look and there's no previous moment of me pulling the fish, of it biting. That moment is not there. And such moments are just priceless for me. It's very upsetting. Very, very upsetting. Why? Anyway, friends, it was a queenfish that bit. The lure slipped from its mouth and hooked it on the side. I think many of you who are fishermen have once caught a foul-hooked fish. And it's so difficult to pull it in. It's just insane. Very difficult. So, friends, I pulled it for a very long time. I was sure it was some kind of shark or GT. I saw the sharp tail right away. I said GT because it has the same tail. But when it came out of the coral reef, I started fighting it, pulling it in. I saw the fish was hooked in the middle. And I know if the fish is foul hooked, it's 3 times harder to pull it in. I finally pulled out such a queenfish. I was happy, glad, pressed stop, and the moment wasn't recorded. So I'm not very happy now. Upset, but at least there's food. I have no words. I resisted it so much, fought it so much, it bit so beautifully. I filmed it all, should have filmed it. I heard the recording start. Everything seemed to be going according to plan. Such a fish. What is it called correctly? In general, it's a queenfish. Well, one of the types of queenfish. Does it seem like the video is a bit dim? Such a handmade lure. My friend Gerasim gave it to me. And it didn't fail. Brought me such a trophy. Look. What a beautiful queenfish, right? In short, if you measure from the head to the farthest fin, it's 82 centimeters. I don't know, maybe you should measure here. But I will measure by the farthest points. These are my measurements. I measure as I want, for my memory, so I can compare later. Don't be offended. This is just in case it slips away, because I forgot to take my knife with me. And it might wake up now, jump around and swim away. It would be doubly disappointing. So, shall we continue? Maybe I'll break some new record. Catch something big. I continued my fishing, but when I saw rain clouds approaching, I decided to take my catch and head back to camp. The fish is big, very big. I definitely won't finish it in one go. You know what I'll do with it? I'll clean it, salt it well, and tomorrow morning I'll cook it, because without salt, it will spoil overnight. So, I'll have to salt it a bit. I think it'll last through the night, and tomorrow morning or afternoon, I'll cook this trophy. I think it weighs about 4 or 5 kilograms. Well, it's time to head home. And by the way, this fish, just like mahi-mahi, has no scales. It has tough skin, which is somewhat similar to canvas material, but with thin little bones. A kind of sturdy armor, so even when freshly caught fish dies, it stiffens within 15 minutes and becomes like a piece of plywood. That's why some spectators might have mistakenly thought the fish was frozen. I hope now some skeptics' doubts will be dispelled. Right there on the shore, I cleaned the caught fish. It had roe inside. I left the roe too. Then I'll fry it and eat it, since I decided to cook this fish tomorrow morning to show it to you nicely in the sunny weather. My main task was to preserve this fish until morning. And without a refrigerator, it will be difficult. So first I need to remove all the elements that spoil on the fish first. Namely, the insides, gill covers, and all blood elements. They are the first to spoil in fish. If removed, the fish can be preserved much longer. Plus, I have a little salt left. I'll salt the fish a bit now and hide it. It won't spoil until morning for sure. Okay, I'll salt it, pack it, and cook it tomorrow. It's good that I hid some dry wood under the tarp. I made a fire, warmed up a bit after fishing, and lay down in the hammock to rest. The fire burned out and I fell asleep. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning without an alarm, and first I started preparing the fish. First, I'll need a large stone grill. And now I need to gather more dry wood. To cook a large fish, I'll need a lot of charcoal. But first, I need to make a fire. I'll gather some dry grass and dry leaves. I lay this in the middle. And on top of the leaves, I lay out dry twigs. First, small ones, then larger twigs. Now I need to find a sharp stone, with which I can strike a spark and make fire. Friends, look what I found. Some treasure. Probably a plastic coin from some game machine. Here it says Republic of Play Money. And here, Central Bank of Play Money. Funny, I should dig around. Maybe there's something else lying around. Friends, look what I found. It's gold. Fool's gold. Friends, you shouldn't randomly find this in your pocket. I found this not gold. It's also called fool's gold. Actually, it's pyrite or iron sulfide. That's the mineral, which I brought with me to the island. It was given to me by the person who taught me various fire-making techniques. It looks simply amazing, and with its help, I'll try to make fire. I'll take some palm bark. It will serve as tinder. And with a steel plate, I'll try to strike a spark. From this pyrite, the spark needs to land on the tinder. And when the tinder catches fire, I'll transfer it into a dry coconut husk and gradually blow on the ember. When the ember catches fire, I'll transfer it into dry grass, and now I'll try to make fire. The fire lit up. I added more dry wood. I'll need a lot of charcoal to cook the large fish. Friends, I highly recommend watching my videos by playlists. There's a separate playlist for each island. Watch all the episodes in order, from beginning to end, and also subscribe to my Instagram, where very soon I'll be giving away various artifacts from my videos. Until morning, the fish stayed perfectly preserved. I approached the water to rinse off the excess salt. Meanwhile, the fire burned down, forming good coals. On top, I placed a couple of branches so that the fish wouldn't directly touch the coals. I took the fish and placed it on the stone grill. It was a worthy catch. A nice big piece of meat. It will definitely last me the whole day and maybe even until tomorrow morning. And in half an hour my fish was ready. I'll try to keep the fish on the coals a little longer, so it can lie in the smoke for a bit. The more I can smoke this fish, the longer I can preserve it. It's been well salted. I rinsed off some excess salt. The meat absorbed just enough, as much as it needed. And the more I can smoke this meat, the longer it can be preserved without a refrigerator. I hope to eat half of it today, and I'll eat the other half of the fish tomorrow. Some pieces are not quite cooked yet, but overall, the fish was very juicy and tender. Quite fatty and moderately salty. I was very happy that luck was on my side yesterday, and I hope it will continue to smile upon me. Friends, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss new episodes. Share this video with your friends. And as soon as this episode gets 15,000 likes, I will immediately publish the continuation from this uninhabited island. This is just the beginning, and believe me, I'll have even more surprises for you next time. Goodbye, everyone.